I've been jump starting cars wrong all of these years. I did not know that when you hook up the negative on your end, the dead car end, I always thought it went to the battery and not somewhere in the engine compartment. Guess now I know. Hey, what's up, Chuckers? Welcome back to another episode. Thanks for joining me here. So the other day I got in my car, headed off to work, started the car just fine, made it about a mile away from my house and the battery light came on, a little red indicator lamp up on the side. So I figured it was the battery, and then I was continuing my way to work and I started pondering if it was maybe the alternator. How do you tell which one is bad? It can be either or, and in my situation it's usually the or, the harder, the alternator. And in this little car that I was dealing with, the alternator was down a rabbit hole, clear back behind the engine, the hardest part to get to on the car. So I was hoping it was the battery. I had replaced the battery a few years prior, and I didn't go with the best battery, which I learned a lesson, and maybe the battery was bad again. So I decided to try this one out. So if you're in a spot, preferably at home, before you take the battery in or take it to an auto parts store or go to a mechanic, you can get you one of these little guys if you do not have one, and they can tell you if your battery is bad. Little volt tester. Doesn't have to be a super fancy one. Anything will do. Okay, so we're under the hood of my cute little 2007 Ford Focus right now, as you can see. Got my little tester out. Put it on DC voltage. Got my battery here with the vehicle off. Take the negative and the positive and you hook it up to the battery, and you should get around 12 to 12.6 volts for a properly charged battery. If you read a little less, that means your battery's going out, won't hold a charge. If it's a little more, slightly higher than say 12.6, that's okay. You've just got a little surface charge on there. And if you ran some accessories for a few minutes, that higher reading should go down to 12 to 12.6. So if you ran your headlights for 5 or 10 minutes, the voltage reading should come down if you were to recheck it. If you start your car and you were to hook these same things up right here, positive, negative, with your alternator running, you should read around 14 volts. You can get 14.5 down to 13.8-ish. Anywhere between there, right around 14 volts. That means that your alternator is charging and working properly. If you need to, you can have someone get in the car, make sure everything's clear of the engine, the fan and the belt and all the pulleys, and have them rev the engine just a little bit, and you can get those voltage readings from the alternator. Obviously, you prop the hood up first. The second step is to check with your manufacturer to make sure you don't need a memory saver. These devices prevent the computer and all of your settings to reset or have to relearn all of your programs after you disconnect the battery and reinstall the new one. So check with your manufacturer, do a Google search on it, and make sure you don't need a memory saver. You can ask your local parts store about those as well. In this situation, I did not need one. Okay, so now that we've located the battery, we need our PPE, personal protection equipment, glasses and gloves. Seems kind of silly, but it's worth it. 1/4-inch ratchet. So we start by taking off the holder. Get this little guy out of the way. Cover off. Now, we always start with the negative terminal first. If you start with the positive, you can get sparks. Get that out of the way. And we'll go to our positive. So the battery is loose. I like to use these little felt pads. They seem to help with the corrosion. So we'll get the battery out of here, and then always check your terminal connections for corrosion. You want to clean those off to prevent further issues with the new battery. If you aren't sure which connection is positive and which one is negative, usually they're color coded. Black is negative, red is positive. The battery will also tell you normally plus and minus. And then if you do go with these felt pads, red and black. Red is positive, black is negative. And now what do we have here? The same exact battery. When you replace a battery, they do what's called a core charge. So you take your old one in and they give you credit on the old one, and it takes off of the new one. So when I took this in, they put it on a tester and said that the battery is good. So we have to install the battery and then take the car in, and they're going to put it on a tester and they can tell me if it's the alternator. Don't forget your PPE. And always start with the positive cable when you go back on, and finish with the negative cable. When you tighten these down, you don't need to go super tight. Since we're here, and you ever need to jump your car, remember this. Always go from your positive, the red side, to their positive on their battery. Clip the negative on their battery, and then on your end, under the hood, find a spot for a ground. Don't ever go to the negative terminal on the battery. I would say if you have some tools around your house, you should be able to do the average alternator in roughly an hour, start to finish. It's not that bad of a process unless you have a 2007 Ford Focus. 6 hours. I could have been making vids. I could have been eating Takis. Could have been roughing up the cat. Could have been helping the neighbor. I could have been doing a lot of other things. But instead, I spent 6 hours on an alternator on this little car. Thanks for joining me here today. I hope you were slightly entertained, or you learned something, or maybe a little of both. We will catch you next time, Chuckers.